As more details come out about Washington State and Oregon State to the Big 12, it kind of makes sense. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. On today's show, Washington State and Oregon State to the Big 12 actually makes a lot of sense. The Big 12 is also in a perfect spot expansion-wise. I'll explain. And welcome to Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado into the Big 12 Conference. Let's talk about where this league has come. Also, the breath thing, I think it's fixed. I talked to the editor. Sorry, guys. Washington State and Oregon State to this conference has become all of the rage recently because of a faceless, nameless guy on Twitter who most people haven't heard of, probably. However, he does have 32,000 followers, which is more than I could count. I've never counted that high, and it's pretty good. And he says that the Pac-2 is negotiating 8 games with the Big 12. So this is from MHVER3 on Twitter. And what you're saying is the same thing as I'm saying, and what I said Friday, and what I'll say again today. Who is this guy? What is his role? Is this a real journalist? I don't know. Here's what I do know. In 2022, April 18th, he tweets, Fox Sports advising the Big Ten to expand with USC and UCLA as the prime candidates. And he was on that all of 2022. So now when that guy that calls that shot, that has those connections that he knew before pretty much anybody else. Look, can I for a second? You and me, come here, get in tight. You're going to the water cooler. Guys like, oh, you're bringing up points from this guy on Twitter who nobody knows, never heard of. Brett McMurphy, Ross Dellinger. Those are probably the two biggest names right now in college football expansion and how they cover expansion. Those two guys get it quick, but they have to go through the checks and the balances. I understand. Twitter is Wikipedia. Anybody can say anything. Any source can say anything. But when somebody has gotten stuff right in the past, you can look at what they say and discern, shoot, there might be some validity here. And from this guy, who before Dellinger, before McMurphy, was on the expansion to the Big Ten, and everybody said, oh, you're stupid, you're an idiot, there's no way, that's wild. Here he is on Washington State, Oregon State to the Big 12. And here's what he says from his sources that he's getting. Early word is West Virginia, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State, UCF, and Kansas, as well as Oklahoma State, would not be required to travel. The Pac-2 would pay $2 million per game and be allowed to shop 8 of the games for carriage. That being said, Washington State, Oregon State, paying the Big 12 $2 million per game to play the Big 12 is huge for, guess who? The Big 12. And Washington State and Oregon State. It puts pretty much everybody in a good situation here. Now, I've told you in the past, I'll tell you again, Washington State is a good expansion candidate for the Big 12 Conference. Oh, we're talking Big 12 expansion again. Oh, is this clickbait? Is this? No. Washington State has better viewership than any of the teams in the last 5 years, than any of the teams the Big 12 just added in Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. More people watch Washington State football than Utah football, despite the Utes winning 2 Pac-12 championships in the last 3 years. Why is that? I will struggle to tell you. I don't know. I don't know. But as long as people are watching, ESPN has taken that into account. And based on other reporting from this same guy, the Big 12 adding Washington State and Oregon State is something that ESPN wants to pioneer. And I can guarantee you that if ESPN wants it, they're going to get it. If they say those two schools go to the Big 12, they go to the Big 12. And to me, that says a whole lot about how ESPN views the ACC, the future of the ACC, and where that conference is going, which is not a good spot. If they wanted to add them to the ACC because it would make them more money, then the ACC is in a fine spot. That's not the case. Instead, those two schools talks to the Big 12, and the rhetoric Brett Yormark has used recently kind of fits with this. He has said, and this was reported in an article recently, that they'll get more creative. Big 12 can get more creative in scheduling games. What if Utah and BYU played the Wednesday before Thanksgiving? What if there are more Friday games, more Thursday games? I don't love it personally. However, if you have Washington State and Oregon State, you can go wall-to-wall coverage. Now you truly have UCF, West Virginia, the East Coast locked up, and you can go grab the West Coast too. You want a 9 o'clock Pacific game. You got a 9 o'clock Pacific game. Is it brutal? Midnight for the Eastern viewers? Absolutely. However, from noon Eastern time until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Eastern time, there's Big 12 conference action on your television. Is that a bad thing? No. Do Washington State and Oregon State help that? Yes. Will this happen in the next 2 years? No. They want the money from the Pac-12. Their whole settlement, that whole deal, the conference collapsing, they have the right. They have the right, the assets, the Pac-12. That puts money in their pocket. They can't forfeit that. They will ride out this dying Pac-12 ship because of the money that comes with it. And when they do that, they make money. They pay that money to the Big 12 to be able to play the Big 12 in a scheduling agreement and then eventually become a Big 12 program, which they will. They will. I'm calling it. Those two schools will be Big 12 schools. I don't see why they wouldn't be. On Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Look, my white Nissan Maxima, 2016 Nissan. It's got Arkansas plates. It's my favorite brand of car. And it's dinged up. I work for a baseball team. It gets dinged up all the time. eBay Motors says, hey, we'll help you with that. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. 122 million plus parts with your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you need with the guaranteed fit as well. eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need, the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP. Bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. The Big 12 is in such a good spot from an expansion standpoint. And mostly because the ACC is on the verge of collapse, because the SEC is content, and because the Big Ten wants to be nerds. That's it. The Big Ten is the AAU status thing, that they have this educational Richter scale. If you're not smart enough, if you don't bring the house down from the X's and O's on the books Scantron standpoint, we're not taking you. And with that, the Big 12 is in a great spot. Now, will they get Clemson and Florida State? Probably not. Let's be realistic. But you shoot for the stars, you land on the moon, and you're doing all right. I don't hate where the Big 12 is. And here's why I think the Big 12 is in such a great spot expansion-wise. The recent conversation about Washington State and Oregon State is a very big part of this. The reason why, for the Big 12, if ESPN is going to make a move like this, they would do it with the ACC if they feel more confident. The ACC, who already has two schools out of California in Stanford and Cal, would give them more money via Washington State and Oregon State. And they don't. If it's true, recently, I told you guys, I read an article recently that the Big 12, the ACC, it's flipped. That the ACC wants to poach schools, thinks it could poach schools from the Big 12. 10 of them is what this Twitter article thing said. And to me, my first thought is, that's stupid. My second thought is, good, you put in a lot of effort into building this, but wait a second, Bob. If ESPN wants to add Washington State and Oregon State, if these rumors are true, if these reports from sources are true, then that means the Big 12 is in a better spot than the ACC. And you go, no, that has nothing to do with it. But you're wrong. And here's why you're wrong if you say that. Because the ACC has the ACC network, and schools get revenue off of that network for sure. This is like a subscription-based thing, and when somebody pays what you pay for out of your pocket, ACC schools are going to see that for sure. So wait, if you added Washington State, who's one of the most valuable TV products in the entire Pac-12, if you had an Oregon State who's good at football, wouldn't they bring you more money? Wouldn't they bring you more revenue? Wouldn't they bring you more subscribers to the ACC network where those schools would make more money? So ESPN, who wants to make more money, would add them to the ACC. That's exactly what would happen. And it's not, the rumors aren't that those two schools are going there. If so, if these people who have put a complete crutch on how the ACC, like they're propping themselves up on the ACC network, then why wouldn't they keep adding fan bases? Why wouldn't they keep adding schools? Why wouldn't they keep adding the opportunity to get more subscribers from and it's not just we added, South Florida, we added Memphis. We wanted to get their fan base to subscribe to the ACC network. No, Washington State is one of the most valuable TV properties above Utah, above Arizona State from the dead Pac-12. If the ACC network is what's going to keep them alive, they would have been out of that conference. I also, so they're the ACC. Look, dude, this isn't, it's like George Kliavkoff was like, oh, we don't know, we're going to go shopping there. Your conference is dead. The ACC is in the same boat right now. Florida State, Clemson are leaving. ESPN in February of 2025, which is coming up, by the way, looking at the calendar right here, it's coming up. ESPN can opt out of the deal. They can just say, sorry, see you guys. Have fun with Amazon. Have fun with the CW. You and Gone Girl or Captain America or whatever goes on CW. That's not good. And the Big 12 is in a better spot than they are, especially as they lose their top two members. And the Big 12 will poach from the ACC. Then there's the SEC. Greg Sankey comes out and says, we're good. Hey, hi. Never lied to you guys before. Good to see everybody at Media Days. We're good. We're fine. We don't really need Oregon State. We don't really need Washington State, obviously. We don't even really need Florida State or Clemson. And it doesn't look like the Big 12 is going to add Florida State or Clemson. That works for me. The Big 12 is probably not in a spot to add those two, but they're getting more desperate. And if they get desperate enough, hello, we'll take you for a couple of years. Add those two, add Washington State and Oregon State. Hello, 20. Want to go to 24? Louisville, Pitt, Miami, NC State, Duke, Georgia Tech, a lot on the table. Now, that's the SEC. They're holding out. They don't want any. The Big Ten's problem is they are nerds. One of my favorite, I don't think we understand how overvalued the educational aspect of college can be in the discussion of college athletics. And I know there are a lot of programs that put learning first, and there are a lot of athletes who put learning first. There are also a lot of athletes who don't put learning first, and universities who do the exact same thing. One of my favorite stories, I don't know if it's true. I hope it's true. Ryan Mallett, University of Arkansas. He walks in late. As the story goes, the late Ryan Mallett, who's great, walks into a lecture hall, and he reeks of like some grade A, Leaf stuff. You know what I'm saying? Walks into a lecture hall. That was for your 8-year-old son, by the way. He's in the car with you. He's listening. It's like, I'm going to keep it clean. He's got some Leaf stuff, sniffing. Gets in there, sits down in his seat. And he's late. It's an exam that day. He looks down at his paper, and he looks down. He's got his little note paper. And he goes, anybody, it's just like out loud, this 300-person lecture hall. Anybody got a Scantron for Ryan Mallett? And of course, it's Ryan Mallett, University of Arkansas quarterback. Somebody passed him a Scantron, 2 or 3 minutes go by. Silent. He's just kind of staring at it, lost. Then you hear out of the silence, hey, yo, anybody got a pencil for Ryan Mallett? And then somebody passes a pencil down to him. I get it. That's not every athlete. I don't want to box you into that. But the Big Ten wants you to be AAU certified or have the AAU thing. Well, they want you to be nerds to get in their conference. And guess what? The Big 12 couldn't give a rip because Ryan Mallett was a damn good quarterback and he won a whole lot of games at Arkansas. And that's what we want, is to win. The Big 12's in a great spot because the ACC is not, the SEC is done, and the Big Ten is too picky. On Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team. It's every day. Today's show, it's brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is where I go when my rent is due. I say, FanDuel, please. I'm going to go to FanDuel and I'm going to put a parlay together that says this guy hits a home run, this guy gets 5 strikeouts, the Baltimore Orioles are going to win. And then FanDuel says, sure, build that parlay. Let's see if it hits. And then when it does, I win money. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But I also kind of feel like right now they've stopped. Now, all I'm watching is the Savannah Bananas and the Party Animals on ESPN. I'm also talking during those games on ESPN. And I need like a supplement of more sports. All customers, the boost or a bonus right now at FanDuel can get a boost or a bonus at FanDuel. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Make Major League Baseball even better with FanDuel. At FanDuel.com, start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the MLB. Visit FanDuel.com and do it today. Hello to Utah, to Arizona State, and to Colorado. Welcome to the Big 12. Can I give you the perspective? I hope. This could be the training video. This is the step 1 of welcoming these 4 to the conference. I need you to know we don't feel the need to bow down to anyone, whether it's Utah, whether it's Colorado and Deion Sanders, whether it's Arizona, who wins a lot in basketball, whether it's Arizona State, who exists over there and was really weird when they got in the Big 12 because their AD was like, I'm not going to West Virginia. Like, okay, we're going to fire you. And they fired him. This conference has been through hell and back in the last 4 years. This conference was the same conference that I can vividly remember the day that it happened, the day that it was reported that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving, that everybody and their mother said, that's it. It's over. It's done. Let's hope that the Big 12 conference can stay alive. Or let's hope that your respective team, whether that's Texas Tech or TCU, would go to the Pac-12. People were talking about Oklahoma State. Oh, they're going to go to the Pac-12. Oklahoma State to the SEC. Brother, just don't. Can I speak on behalf of the whole conference? Can I speak on behalf of the 8 that are still here? Six schools were Big 12 schools 15 years ago. Everything's changed. I remember Nebraska. I remember Texas A&M. I was alive for that. Can I tell you the stuff that we have been through, buddy? You are walking into, I get it. You're coming from the Pac-12 that fell apart, and that's awkward and bad, and you might not want to be here. If you're a Utah fan, you might not want to be here. But I need you to know, off the open, with welcome you to the Big 12. Trauma is there. We have every right to trauma dump the last 15 years. We were the first conference 15 years ago in this last decade plus of realignment that looked around and said, oh, that's weird. Missouri just left. Colorado just left. A&M, Nebraska. Those are big brands. The Big 12 built it back. Oh, Texas left. Oklahoma left. We went from 10 to 8. That's not good. Those were big brands. We built it back. And guess what? Right now, Cincinnati, Houston, they don't carry the torch yet. Can they in the future? Yes. Are they the bell cows now? No. We understand that. Were they the perfect additions at the time they were? Perfect is a strong word. But now, with those 4 schools in the Pac-12, your commissioner, former commissioner, George Kliavkov, getting to the podium and saying that we haven't decided if we're shopping there yet, is the perfect example of what you came from and where you're entering, where you've gone from the clown show that was into the business-like professional Big 12 that Brett Ullmark runs. This isn't a truck stop conference. It is a conference that features the most parity of any league in America. I was telling someone today, Garrett Green, Rocco Beck, Shadur Sanders, Cam Rising, Jalen Daniels, DeQuan Finn at Baylor, to Baron Morton and Alan Bowman, even Alan Bowman. And I'm forgetting like 4 different other guys that could probably be featured. A Sugar Bowl champion, Gary Bohannon. Those are all quarterbacks in this league. There is a whole Noah Fafita. There is a whole Jalen Rashada list of talent that this league is going to bring coming into this season that makes the Big 12 a staying power on the national scale of college football and college sports. It must be noted, 1, we've been through a lot. 2, we don't really need you. We want you. I'm happy. I'm happy those 4 schools are here. Maybe West Virginia's now. Now, West Virginia has 4 teams across the country in that little mountain zone thing that they've got to go play. But it gives me chills to think about what that does to this league. Adding you guys gives me chills. However, we don't need you. I don't want this to be a, Utah fans, we're so reluctant. We got to go to the Big 12 because the Pac-12 is dead. No, this is not that kind of conference. This is also, and this applies for BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, UCF. This is also not the league that you go in and you say, yeah, I need an adjustment period. Oh, I'm Arizona State. I've kind of been struggling a little bit recently. Give me a few years to get my feet wet, get all caught up, be able to win some game. Nope, we don't do that. We don't play that game in the Big 12. What you have walked into is a hyper-competitive conference where everyone beats everyone, and your odds of winning the league in year one, even if you're Utah, are not great because in year one, you've got to compete with a completely different league. I've seen some big boys, some big dudes. I've seen some insanely good players in the Big 12 that have gotten chewed up, spit out. I've seen generational teams like Iowa State a couple of years ago with Brock Purdy, who played in the Super Bowl, go 6-6 because the Big 12 is merciless. You get no breaks. Oh, we're playing Houston this week. Ask Texas, who went to the college football playoff, about that last season. They were inches away from losing to Houston. Anyone in this league can pretty much beat anyone. And what you've walked into is something where we don't necessarily need you. Maybe you don't necessarily need us. If you're Utah, you probably could have gone to the ACC. All 4 of those schools probably could have done that. But I promise, we're in a better spot than a whole lot of conferences. And this league is a whole lot of fun. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm not mad. I'm not upset that you're here. Welcome officially. Hi. Be nice, though, because God bless America. We're some gritty folks over here. We're some gritty folks based on what we've been through. This has been, and it always will be. Man, it was some pondering I did right there, wasn't it? My right leg is tapping. That was some pondering, but it was good. I think me, the guy who is the one that said it and is hosting the podcast, says it's good. I think those are my feelings. Were they completely, well drawn, given to you with, grace? Probably not. Did I sound mad at you? Probably yes. Do I think you're ungrateful? No, not yet. Just welcome. Thank you. Let's go win. I want to win it. If Utah wins a national championship this year for the Big 12, like NCAA 25 says they're going to, I like that. I'm happy with that. I'll take that. This has been, it always will be. Come back tomorrow. Locked on. Hit subscribe so I can keep my job. Thanks for making me your first listen every single day. Dos grande.